All right, I'll say good day to you all. And of course, we will express to all of you a happy new year, a new orbit around your central star, and remind you that it is the year before the window of open contact begins in 2023. Again, starting slowly, but definitely crossing a threshold in more ways than one. But today, we will discuss why you are here in physical reality. We understand many of you have many challenges with physical reality as an experience. And we know that many of you yearn to connect more strongly, or at least feel the connection more strongly that you have with spirit. But the idea is to remember that you chose to have this physical experience for your own purposes, for your own growth, because physical reality, being as dense as it is, a densification, a crystallization, as it were, of spiritual energy, a projection of consciousness, not a place unto itself exactly, but going on within your awareness, is for the purpose of exploring and examining things in a different way, a different time frame that allows you the opportunity, as we have said many times, to discover new aspects, new perspectives of yourself. But this idea of choosing to experience physical reality has many benefits that you can take advantage of for your own personal growth as a soul, as a being, as an aspect of all that is, as a reflection of the infinite, by learning to stay within positive frameworks, positive belief systems, positive outlook, positive expression, positive actions, energetically speaking. You can experience many wondrous things by exploring physical reality in that state of being, in that energy, that will allow you to experience the process of change in a way that will enhance your understanding, enhance your ability in the future, not only to grow for yourself, but to aid and assist others and serve others by having these experiences and becoming familiar with all the different kinds of challenges that you can have while experiencing the concept of physical reality. It gives you a repertoire, it gives you a library to aid and assist other beings who may not be as familiar with that experience, so that you can become living examples of how to navigate the idea of physical reality, discover how it can be easier and easier to give yourself the freedom to choose what works for you, the freedom to understand what is truly in alignment with a positive flow of energy, and to be able to impart your experiences to others who, again, may not be quite as familiar with the idea, or who may be facing challenges that they don't have the tools to transform. So it is very important, not only for your present experience, but also for what you call the future of your planet, that more and more of you truly learn to master the so-called limitations that you have created, that you've set up for yourselves, the challenges you've set up for yourselves while experiencing physical reality, to master them and transmit them, that experience, that mastery, to others in your own way, in your own words, to understand the principles upon which you have agreed to play this game with each other, and to what degree you are following the consensus reality, and to what degree you can allow yourself to move in your own individual direction simultaneously, in harmony, with full awareness that you have chosen this experience, and therefore full awareness of how you can use it to positive effect in many different ways. Allowing your imagination, your creativity to come into full play, to apply that creativity to every experience in your physical reality, to truly transform your awareness and your understanding of your relationship to all that is in this way, so that you can allow all that is to experience all that it can be through the idea of new experiences. Even though everything exists, it is the experience, as we have said, in the relationship, the perspectives that are new, because every single one of you is unique, a unique expression of all that is. And this holds true in physical reality as well. Even more so, in a sense, because you can do so many more things in physical reality than you can do in spirit. Now, that may seem like a contradiction, because we know that spirit allows you to experience greater things, different things, broader things, more expansive things, perhaps, than in physical reality. But physical reality has unique things that cannot be experienced in spirit. Your ability to utilize space and time, the framework you have created in which to experience this concept of physical reality in your consciousness, can be played like a musical instrument in many ways. You can create new orchestrations, new understandings, new relationships of space and time within your consciousness that will create beautiful music within all that is, beautiful new perspectives within all that is. This is an art form, physical reality, and you can learn to master it by following the idea of the formula, cosmic compass, as we say, the idea that there are ways in which you can understand how you are agreeing to play by the game of physical reality and play it in your way, uniquely, harmoniously, beautifully. Take advantage of this opportunity. It is a gift. No matter how challenging it may seem at times, no matter how dark, no matter how negative it may seem at times, mastering this has everything to do with how you define your relationship to it, how you allow the challenges that come up in your life to be there for a reason, your reason, to really let go of any negative reflection of these ideas and know that even though you may recognize objectively that something may have been created from a negative space, that none of that has anything at all to do with how you will experience the effects of it in your life and become a living example of how to master and transform limitation into freedom, not only for yourself, but for others as well. Many others need these abilities, need to see in all of you that are willing to do so, how such things can be transformed to positive effect. So it's about becoming teachers, living examples, masters of limitation, so that you can shine forth in the physical world and paradoxically start to dissolve the idea of how solid physical reality appears to be. For again, it is nothing more than a projection of your consciousness, though played earnestly and sincerely to the degree where it seems so impenetrable, so solid. Yet now, because of your increased awareness, your expanded awareness of yourselves as spirit, it is becoming less so, more flexible, more malleable, more changeable, more transformable, more magical, more synchronistic in terms of your experience of what physical reality actually is as a mirror of what you believe to be true. So examine your beliefs, choose the ones that work for you, no matter what the scenario, no matter what the circumstance and situation. Use your imagination and creativity to figure out, how could this serve me? How can I learn something from this that can serve others? Always let that be the first question, no matter what crops up. How can this serve me? Use it that way, and you will turn yourself into a master magician and a living example of what others can also choose for themselves by seeing in you the willingness to know that physical reality was your choice, that you're willing to take responsibility for being in physical reality, and you're willing to expand your consciousness to the degree where you can allow physical reality to be your new musical instrument to play a beautiful song, a beautiful orchestration, a beautiful harmony that will invite and induce others to sing along, to play along with you, and allow physical reality to become something that you cherish, that is really truly a part of you in your experience forever and ever, that you are willing to utilize that way. This is why you are in physical reality. This and many other reasons of your own choosing. Use them well, use them wisely, but be present in them. Be present in this physical reality. Do not worry about the past. Do not worry about the future. Physical reality only exists in the present, just like everything. Be in it right now, as fully as you can be, as boldly as you can be, as lovingly as you can be. Be present and act from that presence. We thank you for allowing us to share this idea with you this day, in your new year, your new orbit. And we ask in return, in what way now may we continue to be of service to you? You may begin with your dialogues and questions if you wish.
Hello, Bashar. My name is Chow. Thank you so much for taking my question. I wanted to ask you to speak on belief systems a little deeper. You've said in the past that once you realize a negative belief system that you have doesn't make sense, you let it go. I've seen this. This has happened. I know this is to be true. But I've been surprised lately because I've had a few negative, let's say, encounters or negative feelings. And when I ask myself, as you've taught, what do I have to believe about myself to feel this way? The answer has been things that I didn't realize I felt. So like 2 or 3 things. An example is like not being good enough. And so I have tried to reason this to myself and been like, well, listen, creation doesn't make mistakes. So obviously I exist, I'm worthy. I know I'm valid. I love myself. But these issues persist. And again, consciously, I don't feel like I have that belief system. I don't believe that I believe that. So I don't believe that. So maybe it's just my own awareness is lacking. But I was hoping maybe you could speak to that and offer some advice for people struggling on this level. And perhaps some advice for me in particular with that. Anything you can offer, I'd appreciate. Thank you so much. Much love.
All right. Well, again, perhaps you have to strengthen the part of that exercise that has to do with if you did, in fact, actually let go, if you did really understand that it's not true and let go of that idea that you're not worthy, as an example, are you afraid that something else will happen if you let that go? If you really are willing to be your true self in your society, are you afraid of something else happening when you are your true self? So we would encourage you at this particular point, without too much detail being given to you, to explore that side of the equation. What are you afraid might happen if you did let go of those particular definitions that you're discovering popping up in your unconscious mind? What would really happen? What do you believe might happen that you wouldn't prefer or that you might be afraid of? So we will encourage you to explore that at greater depth. Good day, good day.
Hi, Bashar. It's wonderful to feel you again.
And you as well. Please
Thank you
proceed.
so much. Yes, so I am wondering if anyone here on Earth are making or getting close to making spaceships the way you are making spaceships. And
Well,
the reason
it will take a while. It will take a while before you can make them the way we do. However, you have the technology to make versions of craft using different kinds of energy that are non-polluting, that are much more advanced than what you have now. You have all of that technology. A lot of it over time has been suppressed by many people in your society who are operating out of fear. But the idea is you have the technology to make versions, but it will take you quite a while to make versions in the way that we do.
Right, I see. Yeah, one of the reasons I'm asking is because I'm listening to a lot of videos from different organizations like NASA and billionaires such as Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and they have big plans when it comes to space travel. And I know they are making a fuel, or they want to refuel their spaceships on the moon. They're doing a lot of work, and I'm wondering if you are in contact with them at all, or if they are.
No, not directly with us, no.
Right. So they're doing it the Earth way.
Yes, but that's all right. They're in contact with whoever they need to be in contact, and most of that contact probably occurs most likely in dreams.
Ah, interesting.
So they're guided how they need to be guided for now. Eventually, they will come upon the understanding that there are other ways to do these things, other ways to travel in space, other kinds of energy sources they could be using. But for now, let's just say baby steps.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm also wondering regarding the eye of the needle,
Yes.
where you said before Corona hit, you were warning us about the storm, and then you said that, if I remember correctly, that the eye of the needle will end sometime in 2023.
Yes.
Right. So I'm wondering, I just get a sense that there are more different kinds of storms coming,
Yes.
particularly maybe in the financial system.
Yes, there are many challenges that you will face this year, but again, that's all right because it provides the opportunity for clarity, for choosing the belief systems that truly work for you, that are positive in nature, to let go of fear-based belief systems, to streamline yourselves, strip away those things that are negatively oriented, that anchor you to a negative past, to move forward in a positive way. It's a challenge that many of you will be able to utilize to accelerate yourselves toward the future and toward the experience of open contact as it begins to unfold in 2023.
Right. Yeah, it's very exciting. It
Yes.
feels like we're, yeah, very transformative.
Yes.
Um, and I'm also wondering, you said in a video that the hybrid children don't necessarily want to sit down and eat all the time, or some of them find it interesting how often we eat.
Yes.
And yeah, and my toddler is the same way. I mean, it's very difficult to get him to sit down at the table and eat.
Yes.
But if he doesn't eat, he gets hungry, and that can lead to other challenges. So my question is there a better way to handle meal time with young children?
Well, the idea, first and foremost, is that many of them may require a lighter diet in terms of what it is they eat. You can explore with the child what it is they may be excited or attracted to at certain times when they are hungry. The idea can be worked through in discussions, in conversations, and you can use your creative imagination to, shall we say, describe the different foods that probably are beneficial for them in ways that get them excited about them. You can make up stories about them in terms of what their abilities are, what they will give to the body, what they will allow the child to experience if they incorporate those substances in their body. Remember, the idea of teaching a child requires the parent and the teacher to be as creative and imaginative as a child in coming up with how to have a conversation that really gives the child an understanding from a different perspective about what certain foods will do for the child to help them thrive and sustain their viability in physical reality. So it's up to you to be creative with the stories about what the different foods will do.
Okay. Yeah, excellent.
All right.
Um, yeah, just if I may, one more.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if uh, everyone in this community are likely part of the hybridization agenda, right?
With a great degree of probability, most individuals who have contact with us through these conversations have something to do with the hybridization agenda in general, most probably. It's not an absolute, but most probably.
And if someone was part of the hybridization agenda but is not really attracted to your type of information, does that just mean that they're not ready yet and perhaps will be later?
It may mean many things. It may mean they have their own way of interpreting the idea, their own way of expressing it, their own path to follow. That may not necessarily be exactly what seems to be aligned with what we're saying. Nevertheless, yes, it's possible that further down the path, they may key back in to some of the principles that we talk about and share with all of you. But again, remember that one of our most important principles is to allow everyone to follow their path.
Absolutely, yes.
But no, they don't have to immediately exhibit what seems to be a harmonious agreement with everything that we're saying. That doesn't mean they're not part of the hybridization agenda. And remember, we're not the only one delivering these kinds of informations. So they may key into someone else because of where they're at in life and what they need to hear and the way they need to interpret it. It doesn't mean they're not part of the hybridization agenda just because they're listening to something else.
Right.
So,
That's
does
very
that
helpful.
serve you? All right. Thank you very much and good day.
Thank you. You too.
Hello, Bashar. My name is Gabby, and I'm from Chicago, but I currently reside in Costa Rica. I had quite an interesting question to ask. So the question is, what if we are watching our life through the real us, through our intention and our energy and our presence, and our life is actually a video to the real us, and it's just a mirror reflecting to us in the real us perspective. Thank you for your time.
Well, in a sense, that is so. You are creating a projection of your consciousness. If you want to call it a video, you can. You can call it a hologram, whatever you wish to call it. It's a projection of your consciousness. That's what physical reality is, and that's why it's a mirror. It's reflecting your state of being, your belief system, what you believe to be true about yourself and your relationship to the idea of the collective consensus reality that you've all agreed to participate in. So, yes, in a sense, most of you is still in spirit, observing what the physicalized portion of your consciousness is going through, almost like watching a video from the spirit point of view. But of course, while you are in the video in physical reality, you may not necessarily experience it as a video. You experience it as a real thing happening to you. But it's still, nevertheless, a projection of your consciousness. But as we said, yes, a reflection of your state of being that can be used to guide you in life so that you can choose the state of being that you prefer instead of simply going along with what the mirror of physical reality is reflecting to you at any given moment.
Hi, Bashar. How are you doing?
Perfect. And you? Good day?
Great. I'm very grateful for the interaction. Thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure, my passion.
Thank you. So my first question is around aging. You've mentioned before that you're 100-some-year-old, but you still look like you're in your 30s. So I know you appreciate my interest in staying youthful. So there's a book by David Sinclair called Lifespan, where he explains that basically aging is the process of damage to the DNA. So I can walk through a quick example. For example, if a skin cell wants to replicate, it goes and it reads the instructions from the DNA to create a new cell. When the DNA is not damaged, all it finds is one set of instructions for a skin cell. But
Yes.
when we go through life and the DNA is damaged, the wrapping around some of the instructions get loose.
Yes.
And so now a skin cell goes to try to replicate into a new cell, and it finds different sets of instructions, for example,
Yes.
one for liver cell and whatnot.
Yes.
And that leads to defective cells, and therefore that leads to aging organs. So I would love to hear your thoughts about that, and if there is any way for us to prevent damage to the DNA, or even maybe reset it to its original state.
It all begins with energy. It all begins with state of being. It all begins with your belief systems about yourselves. Always start there. The patterns of energy are what determine what's going on within your DNA. And those patterns of energy, positive and negative, are all from the idea of what you have been taught to believe is true about your relationship to yourself, your relationship to others, your relationship to physical reality, all the definitions you hold on to that don't serve you, that are out of alignment with your true vibration. And it begins there. So being out of alignment with your true core frequency causes misalignments within your physical structure and in your DNA. So it all begins there. This is again why we give you the formula. Follow your passion. It keeps you aligned. That's the energy of connection between your physical and higher mind. It allows you to sustain a vibrational state of being that is representative of maturation, but not of denigration, not of disintegration. So it all starts with vibrational alignment, energy alignment within the self, and that translates into physical belief systems, definitions that you hold to be true that are not necessarily in alignment with who you really are.
Got it. Okay, so it's all about state being, but we need to be concerned about, for example, the collective consciousness and how it affects our DNA?
I would suggest that you be aware of it. You don't have to be concerned by it, but the more awareness you have of what you are making agreements to align with will certainly help guide you in what alignments and agreements you can let go of and which ones are actually beneficial for you.
Okay, got it. So if we actually kind of, I guess, control might not be the right word, but if we control our state of being, then it kind of overrides whatever collective consciousness is doing to our DNA.
Yes, unless you have chosen, and this could be unconsciously, to use the challenge in a particular way for yourself, then generally speaking, yes. As long as you allow yourself, not control, but allow
Allow.
yourself
Got it.
to align with your true core vibration, then yes, you can maintain a relatively youthful experience. Again, you can mature without the idea of denigrating yourself through the process you refer to as aging. However, again, some of this will still be a leftover residual experience from your connections to the collective consciousness and what you believe is possible or probable for you to experience. Now, this does not erase the idea that some people have chosen to experience the idea of aging and the denigration for their own purposes. So you may not necessarily eliminate all of it if people are using that experience to their benefit on a soul level in some way, shape, or form. So don't necessarily assume that it will all go away right away. But you can maintain a more youthful state and an energetic state by following the formula and staying in the present and being true to yourself and aligning harmoniously with your true core frequency.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And so as far as following the formula, I follow my excitement. So I do change a lot, and so I feel like that is part of following my excitement. Sometimes I do wonder whether this constant change is following my excitement versus maybe avoidance of sun. Yeah. How do
Well,
how
as
is
long
there
as you
between?
constantly wonder that,
Mhm.
and as long as you constantly check in with yourself, as long as you are honest with your self-investigation, because I know that if you really think about it, you can tell the difference between excitement and anxiety if you're honest.
Yep.
So as long as you keep checking, then you will navigate yourself properly. Remember that the people that simply proceed to explore the idea of negativity never actually stop and question whether or not they are going in the correct direction for themselves. So the idea is that your willingness to check in and make sure that you are staying on the path that is true for you will usually mean that you will stay on the path that is true for you. But you will face challenges in doing so, and facing those challenges is part of the point of experiencing your path. So that's okay.
Okay.
As long as you are aware, as long as you are aware that it could be from avoidance, then you will constantly investigate yourself and you will remain in the center overall.
Got it. Okay. So as long as those challenges, as long as I'm being creative and I'm finding solutions to those challenges and they're not
Yeah.
feeling like a struggle, I guess they're there to serve me in some way.
You don't have to guess. They
Yeah.
are.
They are. Yep.
Does
Okay.
that help?
Yeah, absolutely. I have another question if it's okay. So I
One
had
more.
a yeah, got it. I had that recurring dream as a child, which is basically I used to go to the grocery store in the neighborhood and I would come back, find our building is completely gone, start crying. This man dressed in white comes and kind of leads me to a pink temple with a long stairway to the sky and the clouds. Um, any Was that kind of is there a meaning to that dream, or is that
It's a
just
gentle
iteration?
reminder. It's a gentle reminder that physical reality is not your home, but you have a home somewhere else in spirit.
I see. So that's more the pink temple is more the spirit world.
Yes.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank
It
you
is
for all
our
your
passion
teaching.
and our pleasure. Good day.
Hi, Bashar. My name is Jen, and I live in Queensland, Australia, in beautiful Sunshine Coast. I have just discovered your transmissions around Christmas time, December period, and they have helped me a lot. So thank you very much for everything that you have brought through for us here and now. During one of the shows that I was watching where you were bringing through a transmission, I was at the point where there was question and answers, and one of the ladies answered what I felt was a very intense, energetic question. And all of a sudden, before you were about to answer, my power in my house went completely off, just for no reason. My question around this is, was that a pure coincidence, or was there something else happening? And if there was something else happening, is there any connection to me? And yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Bye.
Yes. There's no such thing in that sense as a coincidence in the sense of an accident. Everything is synchronistic. So when you felt that the question was intense, you allowed your own energy field to become more intense, and that interfered with the electromagnetic field of the electricity systems in your dwelling. So you raised your frequency to the point where you got a physical synchronistic demonstration of how far you had extended your vibrational frequency, how much you had raised it, to the point where it could actually manipulate and interfere with electrical fields in your reality.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
It's really nice to speak with you.
You as well.
I wanted to ask you, how does the process of falling asleep work, and how come we never remember the moment when we fall asleep?
Well, some people do, but the process is simply a transition between your focus on the idea of physical reality and your defocusing upon that idea, because you are recharging your physical body by reconnecting more strongly to spirit. So it is a very gentle transition, but it's kind of like having a dial that turns something down incrementally so that you don't necessarily always notice the transition from one state to another, but it's basically a defocusing of your intention on physical reality and now more of a focus on spiritual reality. Because the two are not that far apart, vibrationally speaking, at least at the borderline between the two, it may not always be necessary to notice when you cross, because it requires such a small shift in your vibration to go from physical to non-physical reality focus. And that's usually why people don't notice. Spiritual reality, non-physical reality, is closer vibrationally to physical reality than many of you think.
Okay, I think that answers it. I also wanted to ask you if people have really similar eyes or almost like the same looking eyes, does that can that mean that they are from the same oversoul? Oversoul?
Well, it can be a signal if that's the signal that was agreed to be able to tell. It doesn't have to be, but it can be used that way. Other things can be used that way too. Spirits may agree that they will have a particular mark or something that will remind them that because that is similar to someone else, that there may be a connection there. Because sometimes you need physical reminders of a connection that you have agreed to have that you may not otherwise remember in physical reality. So yes, it can be. It doesn't have to be, but it can be.
So it could theoretically be that one person would notice that connection or that similarity and another person would completely miss it?
Yes.
Okay. Another thing I really wanted to ask you is that you shared locations of some of the portals and the vortices that are in the United States area.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could share maybe some portals that are in Europe or Eastern Europe particularly.
Well, we have, to some degree, done some of that already, but there are several. Prague is a very strong portal in a lot of ways, a master portal in that area. So you might want to explore that.
What does the portal in Prague represent?
The portal in Prague represents an ability to connect to energies of the past, but in a way that can be adapted to moving into the future in a way that still creates a connection with community.
Okay. That's very interesting.
Yes, all right.
And one last question. It's kind of a personal, I guess. I have sometimes trouble feeling empathy towards some people, and I'm worried that that may be a problem. And is there something that I can do to be more empathic?
Well, you say towards some people. Does that mean there are specific reasons why you don't feel empathy towards certain people because of what they do? Or why do you not feel empathy toward those people? Or were you just being general?
It just feels like sometimes I'm able to be empathetic to those same people, and sometimes I'm completely just switches off.
Because of something that they're saying or doing, or just for no reason apparently at all?
Well, it may be that related to my thoughts about them, probably, but
All right. And what are the thoughts that allow you to experience a shutdown of your empathy? You do understand. Do you understand that you can have empathy without agreement?
what does
You don't
that
have to agree with someone or think of them a certain way to still have empathy.
Okay,
Do you understand that?
I think so. It feels as if I understand it, but in my
All right.
mind, it does.
Well, can you give us a specific example of the kind of thought you might suddenly have about someone that makes you feel like you can no longer be having empathy for them? Can you give us a specific example?
Yes, well, I have some friends, for example, which I had really good memories with, and then I had really bad ones too. And it
Yes.
just feels sometimes that I can remember only the good ones or only the bad ones. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. All right. So what you're basically saying is that your empathy shuts down when you are judging others.
Yes. Okay.
Well, then you are judging them.
All right.
So the idea is that in judging them, you are not allowing yourself to feel connected to them. Now, again, you don't have to agree with them. You don't have to connect strongly with the experience that they may be promoting
yes.
in order to understand that you can have compassion and you can have empathy with the understanding that they're going through a challenge. It's not anything you have to take personally. So the idea of shutting down your empathy is that you may be taking some of those things personally rather than simply looking at them objectively and recognizing with compassion that, all right, they're going through some kind of a tough challenge. And I understand that their behavior is exhibiting that. And while I don't agree with aligning with that behavior, it's not what I prefer, I can still empathize that they're going through a challenge because you've gone through challenges in your life as well. And the idea is that you would still want people to understand you're going through those challenges and that you're going to make yourself a better person by facing them in a positive way. So you give them compassion and you send them energy to be able to face their challenges in a positive way that helps them become more aware of who they truly are and helps them grow. So you can have your empathy and your connection to them to that degree without feeling like empathizing with them means you agree with the belief systems that they're exhibiting or the behavior that they're exhibiting. Does that help?
Yes, very much. And to make this a habit, I just keep on, have to consciously keep on practicing that, right?
Well, yes, but again, you have to find the reason why it doesn't make sense to do otherwise.
Okay.
Then it becomes something that you constantly do. You will always respond that way. In a sense, look at it from the perspective of an adult or a parent to a child. If a child makes a mistake, if a child has a tantrum, you understand that you don't reject the child. You know that the child may need some guidance. You know that the child may need some compassion, may need some very loving communication, or just needs to be left alone for a while to figure things out. But you don't remove your love from the child. You don't disconnect from the child. You know that it's simply part of the process of the child's experience in growing up and learning how to be someone who can experience balance in life, who gets a sense of themselves in a stronger, more stabilized way. So you can look at your friends that way, even though they may no longer technically be children. Anyone going into a fear-based reality and a fear-based behavior, in a sense, is still learning to grow. So you can perhaps relate to them as you would to a young child who's still learning their way.
Okay, I want to say try, but I will make that my reality.
That's up to you. All I'm simply saying is find out what the reasons are why you wouldn't do that, and realize that in coming up with a reason why you wouldn't allow yourself to still have compassion and empathy for what they're going through, then that's your challenge. And you're exhibiting the same thing that they're going through by holding on to something that kills your empathy and compassion.
Okay, thank you.
They're reflecting that to you.
All right, I will do that.
All right, up to you.
Thank you. I think that is it.
All right. Thank you very much. Good day.
Good day. Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day. Good day.
I'm Susie from Canada, and
All right.
I'm so excited to talk to you.
All right, as are we with you.
I wanted to get some insights into some experiences that I've had recently,
Yes.
some contact experiences. So I did a channeling course to learn to channel, and we did a few meditations, and I met an ET that called himself John. I don't think that's his real name. And he told
Probably
me that
not.
no, I had that knowing right away when he
All
said
right.
it.
Very good.
So he said that I would be helping humans get ready for first contact.
Yes.
That was in the first meditation. And in the second meditation, he came again, and he sort of came over to me, and it felt like he was merging with me. I don't know if that was more symbolic.
Well, it's more of an energy matching or an energy mirroring. Remember, no one actually goes inside anyone else. There's no room inside you for anything. But you can match your vibrations with something, and it can feel like a merging.
Ah, that's amazing. The other thing that I felt in the meditations was an overwhelming love
Yes.
for John. It felt like I'd known him forever. It felt like I almost wanted to go back with him to his planet. That's how it felt like. I wanted to go home with him because that felt like more like my home.
Yes, well, in a sense, that's true. Although, again, remember, you chose to be where you are for your own purposes.
Yes. So I had a question. Who is John? Do you know who John is?
In general, yes.
Can you tell me?
No.
Okay, I thought that might happen.
How psychic of you.
Yes.
You'll find out what you need to find out as you continue with this process. We cannot spoil the surprises for you.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting. So I have been verbally channeling, and it works best when I have someone ask a question.
Yes.
But it feels like it's my higher self or their higher selves as well. And
your higher self will always be involved in any communication with anything else. So be prepared to accept the fact that your higher self will sometimes be the vehicle through which the information may come.
Okay, that's so good. That feels right. The other experience I wanted to ask you about was when I'm going to sleep, when I'm resting and going to fall asleep, I feel a lot of energy go through my body, and I can get some downloads of information and also sort of
Yes.
talk
Yes.
to my higher self or whoever the energies are. But one night I could feel an energy there, and I was given the experience of actually feeling what unity consciousness felt like.
Yes.
And you can't describe it. Is that what you feel and your people feel?
All the time.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It just like, it was, you knew fully who you were,
Yes.
and you knew who everyone else was.
Yes.
And there was just total communication, total love. And it felt, and the next thing the thoughts that I had was, wow, that's so different from what humans experience on Earth.
Yes. But it is something you can experience on Earth.
Yes. Yes.
Now, remember, of course, not on the Earth you're on. You will shift to an Earth that already experiences that when you align with it more harmoniously.
Yay. That would be great. It feels like it's sort of for humans, it's a job of self-love.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yes. And understanding that, and the more I found in my own journey, the more that I love myself, I get rid of those negative belief systems and really realize who I am.
Yes.
I'm not needing that outside. Humans tend to need outside validation.
They don't tend to it, they choose to believe they need it.
Yes. Yes. But the more you feel self-love, that goes away because you've already kind of got that. You have everything you need.
Absolutely. Simple, isn't it?
Yes. Well, it's a big journey to get rid of those belief systems. So I guess
We
that's
understand.
the journey.
That's all right. That's part of the challenge. That's part of what you signed up for, is to go through that experience and the process of letting go of those things more consciously. But the idea, the basic principle, is very simple.
Yes, it is simple, and yet, yes, and yet it's a journey.
Yes, it's a journey.
Yes, it's an amazing journey, actually.
It is.
Amazing. I can see why we would choose to come here, because there's so much richness in this experience, and getting to that better place is, yeah.
Yes, it's a complex and rich tapestry of experiences.
Yes. So can you tell me who helped me to feel that unity consciousness feeling, to actually help me? Because I could feel another energy helping me to experience. It was John. Yeah. Yay, John. Okay, Bashar, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Good day.
Good day.
Hello, Bashar. My name is Dani. I'm from Portugal. I grew up in Madeira Island. It's an island that belongs to Portugal. And I have two questions. I was wondering if the island is a reminiscence of the Atlantic civilization or not. I don't know. And the second question is, I feel that there is a vortex there. I mean, I feel physically. So I was wondering, can you please tell me what is the purpose of that vortex? What is the quality of the vortex, and what kinds of frequencies it irradiates? So thank you, Bashar. You know I love you. Goodbye, and see you soon.
It is part of the Atlantean colonization that swept into the European areas. It is not Atlantis itself, but Atlanteans definitely traveled there as a part of a colonization effort into the European area. The vortex that's there has to do with being on the edge of possibilities, on the edge of the horizon, looking forward into the future and seeking answers from a higher plane, of seeing what's coming in and knowing how to handle it. That's what that vortex represents.
Hello, Bashar.
And good day to you.
I want to start off by saying I'm very grateful for connecting with you and having this opportunity with you.
Our deep appreciation and gratitude to you all as well for the co-creation of these interactions.
I had an extraterrestrial that was floating above my head at 1:30 in the morning about a month ago. Can you explain what that was and what he was doing, or she was doing?
Checking in, taking a measurement of vibrational energy, seeing how ready you are for more.
Thank you so much. When I was younger, growing up, when I was a little kid. I believe it was reptilian attached to me for many years.
There is no attachment.
There's not. Okay.
Not in the negative sense, no. There may be encounters, there may be a sharing of vibrational energy that you choose to match or don't, but not attachment in the negative sense that many people on your planet use that word. You
Okay,
are
so
always free to determine what you connect to.
Interesting. Thank you very much. I've seen a UFO 15 years ago, 35 feet from me. Can you let me know what it was doing and if my consciousness was on that spaceship with it?
What did it look like?
It was a dirty metallic color. It looked like almost like a spiral football, but it has dull on the sides. It was seamless, had no lights, made no noise, and it was hovering over by Canada by the water. And then it came towards me and stayed by the water for a good couple minutes and then took off vertically.
Yes, a version of yourself was on that craft.
Wow. Thank you so much. Okay. Whew. Okay. Now, when I close my eyes, Bashar, my happiness is really for channeling. And I've been trying to follow all your techniques that I've been learning. And I was wondering, am I ever going to get to that place where I can channel? Because I do see extraterrestrials. I have had talks every now and then, but most of them just show themselves to me.
Why do you feel you need to vocal channel?
I would love to learn and grow and figure out what's behind the veil more.
Why do you think vocal channeling is the way to do that for you?
I was never very educated growing up. I was in the system for very long. I never had the education.
But what I'm saying is, why do you imagine that vocal channeling to other people is the way that will help you do that, instead of doing something like automatic writing or just receiving downloads?
I can't spell properly and I can't write. So for me, that would be the way that I can do that properly.
All right. Well, how excited are you to do that?
I am super excited. It is my passion.
Have you started doing it by having people ask questions?
No, I haven't had them ask questions. I've been recording on a recorder to describe what I've been seeing. And I've been seeing a lot of things lately.
Well, if you want a vocal channel to other people, why haven't you had other people asking questions?
Thank you. I will try that.
Because it acts as a ground. It brings the information through you and grounds it in them like electricity. It pulls it through you. You can, in a sense, get out of the way because it's not staying within you for you to determine what's going on. You just simply act as an empty vessel or conduit for the information to come through you that they need, that will anchor itself in them. And in that process, you will also get to understand what the information is. But you have to have somebody that's pulling it through you if you want to function as a vocal channel.
Thank you very much. I had Reiki done with me 2 years ago, and I ended up seeing the Archangel Michael and Raphael like if they were in person right in front of me. I had a profound experience. It showed me nothing but love. And the thing is, the other thing that really blew my mind is this Palladian woman I had an encounter with. She showed me emotions through telepathy, but it felt like it was like heavy. And then she showed me babies in a tube. There were like 50 of them, and I don't know if somehow we had kids or she was showing me something.
She's showing you that you are part of the hybridization agenda on Earth that is involved with the evolution of humanity toward the sixth hybrid race.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Bashar, I am very grateful. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
It is our passion and our pleasure. Good day to you.
Good day. So great to talk to you, knowing that you are doing extremely well wherever you are. So today my question is about the last time we spoke. So when you came on the screen, I felt this great energy and I didn't have words for it. It was only after I was describing it to my partner that he gave me the word of home. And it was so beautiful and I was buzzing for weeks. And you have said that you and your civilization are sending off energy at a certain level and we then match that energy. How much of that energy was I matching? And when other beings experience me, when I am coming from a place of full excitement, is that kind of what I feel like? It was so beautiful. And my last request would be, I won't be watching this session live. So if possible, when you answer this question, can you send me a emotional message or a telepathic message to let me know that you have answered the question, and for me to know for sure that that is the time when you are answering the question. And when I watch the recording, I would love to know if you can also encode it with that same vibration, and then I can feel that again. Yes, I don't know if that's something that you can do, but I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, Emil. Bye.
All right. Well, yes, you're feeling your own energy mirroring our energy that we're giving off, our frequency that we are encouraging all of you to match or mirror within yourself. So you're feeling your own energy as it rises to meet the vibration we give off. And yes, it can be that other people, when you're in your pure excitement, your pure passion, can feel the same kind of vibration coming from you that you feel coming from us. All you have to do is be in a state of love, unconditional love, to receive all the messages that we send to all of you, to allow you to know synchronistically when it is you need to tune in and tap into anything that is important for you to be aware of. So we are sending those messages. We will see. It is up to you to receive them by being in the state of energy that would make it most likely for you to be aware of what is being given to you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Oh, I'm so excited for this. Thank you for this.
Yes.
I had a very unusual experience last year. I'd like to share it with you.
All right.
It was after I was watching videos on the website Bashar TV. In particular, I had left off on the section entitled "Death and Afterlife." I was watching all your videos about that, and my uncle later on that week, my uncle passed away.
All right.
And so I was in a truck. We were leaving the Black Rock Desert whenever I got this text message from my dad saying my uncle passed away. And after thinking about the things you were saying, I immediately decided I was going to invite my uncle to communicate with me in some way. And so I spent a moment or two, and about an hour goes by. We're going down the road, and the driver was pointing to how low the lake was on the right, and neither one of us saw that there were 4 cows in the road, and we smashed into 4 cows going almost full speed, and I basically had like a near death experience is what it felt like. I had feared for my life for a split second. And so is it possible that my uncle Steve was involved in the way that scenario unfolded?
Well, not in the sense that he placed the cows in front of you, if that's what you mean.
Well, that's reassuring.
But in the sense that he gave you an opportunity to utilize what you're calling a near-death experience to know that you are more strongly now connected to the idea of spirit by giving you an opportunity to not pay attention to what was there momentarily so that you could be given the opportunity to experience a stronger connection to spirit briefly.
Excellent. Yeah.
At the same time, it is pay attention to your physical surrounding, because you could easily transition into spirit in the way that he did if you don't pay attention to what's going on right in front of your face.
All right.
Now, he's going to make light of this situation a little bit by letting you know that all in all, it sort of wound up being a moving experience.
It definitely was.
Well, that comes directly from him.
All right.
But pay attention to your surroundings, because it's very easy when you don't do so to transition back into spirit. But you were given a choice to stay or go back, and you chose to go back because you weren't done.
Wow.
So, again, being that this person seems to love the idea of humor and puns, now that he's on the other side in a different way, he would suggest that if you're going to choose to stay in physical reality, that you milk it for all it's worth.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. I will definitely do that.
All right.
So,
Does that help you?
It definitely does. It's been on my mind for months now. This is
All
September.
right.
This happened.
All right.
Something that I'm fascinated to watch on the internet is people with Tourette's syndrome
Yes.
that do all sorts of funny things. Is this a type of channeling?
It's a type of short circuiting. It's an attempt to connect into a channeling state, but there's some short circuiting going on.
I see. For somebody who says that they're struggling with it, that they want them to go away, like how do they take ownership of this? How do they move forward from that?
Well, it will depend upon the person. There are any number of reasons why a person may have connected to this particular kind of an experience, and therefore you would have to have a more specific understanding of the specific person that's experiencing it and how they can deal with it in a different way. But in general, similar to the idea of epilepsy, it requires a coordination and harmonization of the different aspects of the left and right hemispheres of the brain through the center of the brain, the corpus callosum. So certain kinds of energy exercises or meditations that involve shifting your focus between the left and right hemispheres of the brain and centering the energy in the center of the brain in the corpus callosum can be of some assistance to some people. But of course, again, it depends upon the reasons why they may have chosen to have this kind of an experience.
Awesome. My other fun question is it possible or is it likely in our future that we'll connect our internet to other worlds or other timelines of Earth?
Well, yes, although it won't be the internet as you know it now.
Okay.
But the idea of your exploration into quantum computing can make the connection to parallel realities possible.
Wow. Very, very cool. And then just one last thing. Do the hybrid children spend any time on TikTok?
A few of them have observed several things that exist on your internet for their educational purposes, but again, they don't spend much time.
All right. Thank you so much, Bashar.
You're welcome.
Hi, Bashar. My name is Shauna, and I live in Salem, New Hampshire. I have been in dialogue with you on a few occasions around the topic of the inner child. Most recently, we have discussed the false self. From what I understand, the false self is a personality that I created and that I project that experiences some limitations that are represented of the challenges I agreed to face, overcome, transform, and move closer to my true self. I also understand that we create a false self as a defense mechanism to protect the inner, more vulnerable true self and to help the child feel accepted and safe and to preserve their attachment to the original caregivers, mom, the parents. So I have a few questions. And I feel intuitively that I already know what the answer to these questions are, but I'm going to put them out there anyway. So first, do we come into physical reality with a structure of beliefs already in place? In that structure of beliefs that we bring into physical reality, can they contain already negative, fear-based, or limiting beliefs, or are those created explicitly through our early childhood programming and conditioning? And my last question is, I understand that the real true self holds all of my beliefs based in positivity, love, and expansion. So am I to believe that the false self holds at its core all of the beliefs based in fear, negativity, and limitation? Thank you so much, Bashar. Aveo.
First of all, the true self is not negatively vulnerable in the way that you mean that. You might have created an inner child self that can experience negative vulnerability, but the true self is never negatively vulnerable. So there's no protection required for the true self. You're only protecting the self that you're referring to as the false self. Yes, you can come in with a belief system structure that is representative of the challenges you've agreed to face, and therefore many of them may already be negative in the terms of the programming that you're referring to. Some of them may be enhanced by the idea of the environment that you have also been born into, the parents, the schooling, the friends, the family, so on and so forth. So it can be a mix of things. But yes, it can come in with the idea of having certain parameters, certain limitations pre-programmed so that you will face the challenges that you agreed to face. It can be a mix of these different things. But again, the idea is that the true core self, the true core vibration is what guides you to examine and explore all these belief systems and limitations you have imposed upon yourself with agreements, one way or another, to allow you to break free from them and align the idea of your belief systems with the true core self, with the positive inner child, not the one that feels negatively vulnerable, and that the idea of the false, as you're referring to it, false self, can have a core of its own that carries these belief systems forward so that you will ensure that you will experience the challenges that you agreed to face. But they're not the same as the core, true vibrations of your essential being. It's simply what might be referred to as the collective programming for the challenges that you decided to face.
Bashar, thank you so much for taking my questions today.
Yes?
So I would like to ask you today about my childhood near-death experience.
All right.
At the age of 7, I had a near-death experience, and I've come to understand that I was looking down at myself from an out-of-body experience.
Yes.
And while I was in that state, it was like I was surrounded by quicksilver or mercury, and a hand of a woman came out of everywhere and materialized over my eyes. And then another, like it was all mercury or quicksilver, and then another hand came over my solar plexus, and then it was like I got pulled up with a snap and a pop from my solar plexus, and then I couldn't see anything. But there was a discussion about how painful and prolonged it was all going to be, and am I sure I want to go back? And
Yes.
I said that I did.
Yes. These kinds of conversations with spirit guides are relatively typical in certain cases of near death.
So was I taken to the blue planet then?
No. You stayed in the electromagnetic energy of spirit and were given an opportunity to decide whether you wanted to move on or whether you wanted to go back to physical reality.
If I had chosen to stay dead, would I have gone to the blue planet, or would I have just died?
Well, what do you mean just died? Just died means you have choices to do other things. One of them could have been the choice to go to a blue planet, but you decided to come back to Earth, which is also considered a blue planet.
Oh, I mean the planet of the blue people.
Yes, you could have chosen that, but you knew that you had chosen originally to be on Earth for specific reasons, and therefore you wanted to finish that so you wouldn't have to necessarily repeat it.
Okay. So that brings me to the other part of this question, which is about when people use the term walk-ins, that is a misnomer, right? Because obviously, my body is just the most crystallized part of my energy, right?
Yes.
There is no somebody else using my left hand while I use the rest of my body.
No, the idea of a walk-in is simply a shift in the awareness of the soul and the ability to express more of the individual soul through that physical form. It's not a different person coming in. The personality may shift to seem like a different person because personality is an artificial construct, and therefore it can be accurate to say it's a different person because that's the projection, but the soul is simply expressing more of itself. It's the same original soul.
Right, of course. But from the human society's aspect, they call you a walk-in because you kind of don't fit, right? Like from their side of view,
Yes.
it's like, well, we killed you fair and square. What are you doing here? Get lost, right? We don't have space for you anymore.
Well, no, but of course the idea is that you do have space because it is necessary and timely for that being to express more of its soul because that can be of greater service to the society even if the society rejects it.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the key there. Society not compatible though. You're not compatible with the other people.
That's not always the case. Most walk-ins, in the sense that we're explaining it, are perfectly compatible. It's just the ones that happen to stand out as more different that become seemingly less compatible, even though, of course, there's a reason why they're there and expressing themselves that way, even though people may not get it. But there's more walk-ins and more shifting than you may think. It's just that most of them are compatible with the timing of having done so.
Right. So in terms of when you said in the mirror reflections transmission, somebody said
Yes.
that they broke their jaw. And
Yes.
you said that the purpose of that for them was to accelerate their shifting.
Yes.
And you said that sort of to me about my situations as well.
Yes.
The when you say accelerate the shifting, do you just mean making bigger changes in less time?
Yes. In other words, many people will create what appear to be accidents because it abruptly kicks them into a new understanding and a new perspective and accelerates their ability to move forward in a slightly different way, or maybe even a profoundly different way.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Bashar. I appreciate it.
It is our passion and our pleasure. Thank you. Good day. The dental meaning of the word. But the idea is simple geometry. It's easy to stack things together by using the hexagonal patterns. Now, the idea of the contact crystal is not completely only using hexagonal figures, at least not equilateral ones. So the idea is that it is slightly different, although it might be similar to the central portion of the contact crystal, but stacking things together in the same way that bees create hexagonal honeycombs and the way that different kinds of atomic structures stack together in hexagonal patterns is something that is simply a practical application of allowing things to be as close as they possibly can be and yet still fulfill their function, giving enough surface area to act as the collector for the light that the telescope needs to receive.
Okay, thank you. What is the energetic difference between the eye of the needle phase and the window of open contact phase? Will things start to feel lighter and less intense, or should we expect the deep processing work to continue for quite some time?
Processing will always continue, but the nature of the process will change. The idea of the eye of the needle energy is more an energy of letting go of those things that hold you back, whereas the open contact energy will be a reflection of all the things you have let go of so that things can seem easier, but that doesn't mean processing will end. It simply means that the process will change, the subject matter will change, you will come to face different issues than you have been facing during the eye of the needle process. So it's a matter of not so much a lessening of intensity, but a smoother flow through the intensity so it might be perceived as something easier, even though the level of energy might actually be greater.
Oh. What percentage of the audience today would be capable of interacting with one of the hybrid races directly?
About 27%, depending on the hybrid.
And can you tell us more about dark energy and dark matter and that are such mysteries to our astrophysicists?
All right, it's a big subject. We will attempt to be brief. Again, number one, we have explained that if you look at this as a structure of two overlapping spirals going in opposite directions, you see that the spirals get greater and greater as they go out. The crossing points are farther and farther apart. Yet the idea of the universe expanding and accelerating in its expansion is the product of those wider and wider crossing points of the two spirals, and yet at the same time, the idea of the expansion of space-time having infinite speed. So you're crossing bigger distances in the same amount of time that you're crossing the smaller ones, which translates into your reality as acceleration. So this is a structural explanation. But for a different explanation of the idea of the difference between dark energy and dark matter, We have a way of expressing it in your language, though it may not immediately make complete sense to you. But we will nevertheless give you a way in which it can be framed. You can look at the idea of dark matter as a photonic electron, and the idea of dark energy as an electronic photon. We know this may not make much sense to you in your language as you understand these things physically now, but that is the only way that we can find in your language to express the difference between the two, and simply express the idea that there are different states of matter, different states of electrons that function more like light, more like photons, and different states of photons that function more like matter, more like electrons. And this is the difference between the idea of dark matter and dark energy.
Okay, thank you. Of the civilizations who consume food, ET civilizations, are you aware of any that are culturally focused on the pleasure of food and are considered intergalactically for their cuisine?
There are several civilizations that do gain pleasure from the eating of food. This is not an uncommon thing. And there are several civilizations that do ingest food that are interstellar and do prize certain dishes that exist, certain cuisine that exists on other planets, if it is compatible vibrationally with them. So yes, those things do exist.
Do the hybrid children eat like we do?
Many of them do. Mostly they have a vegetarian diet or a liquid diet of vegetable and fruit juices. But yes, many of them still consume substance in that way, though it tends to be lighter.
Once they get here, will they feel drawn to try other things here?
Depending on what they have chosen, a few of them may be more experimental than others, but for the vast majority of them, they will maintain their relatively light vegetarian diet.
Because can their physiology handle what we eat here as well as all the toxins that are here?
Again, for the most part, no. But there will be a few who may have chosen to be a little bit more vibrationally experimental, and therefore they will be able to go a little bit further in the trying of different substances.
What about us? Do we ultimately need to become vegan in order to be at a higher frequency?
It's not that you need to, but it's that most of you will, simply because as you raise your frequency, you would simply naturally lose the urge to eat more denser substances.
So you see that happening very soon in the future, because we're talking about contact with these children. By that time, would you have to be vegan to have contact with them?
No, not necessarily. It depends upon the person and what they need for themselves to achieve a certain vibrational level that makes them more vibrationally compatible. But no, not necessarily. There may be some that are still ingesting slightly denser substances that will actually still be capable of raising their frequency to the point where they can interact freely with some of the hybrid children. Although again, it may be certain hybrid children that will be capable of matching those vibrations more easily. But again, you will attract what you need.
Okay. And your civilization seems pretty unified in terms of your understanding of how the mechanics of reality work, and very clear on things like life and death,
yes,
metaphysics, etc. So whereas humans seem very divided about it and confused, and as we evolve, will we all come to some sort of clear understanding of these ideas?
If you evolve, yes. If you don't, no.
To what degree, when you say evolve, like obviously we're not going to be at the same frequency level you are, but what kind of frequency level would be required here to have a clearer understanding?
At least frequencies that stay within the 200,000 vibrational range. 200,000 vibrations, 200,000 frequency and above. You don't have to be at 300,000, but somewhere in the 200,000s will be sufficient for you to be able to experience many of the understandings that we experience.
And is that same frequency range appropriate for interacting with children or other ETs that are of higher frequency that are coming here?
Some, yes. Not all, but some.
Okay. One of your biggest lessons is following your highest excitement. And do you have to teach this idea to other cultures too, or is it just that it's specific to our, relevant to our Earth experience here?
There are different levels of understanding in the different civilizations we have made first contact with, and some of them do require an understanding in the way we have presented it to you. Not all of them, and maybe not all partially understand things or fully understand things. There are differences within every civilization, and of course how it's expressed will be different according to how they receive information more efficiently. But yes, there are civilizations in which we've had to explain these things similar to the way we've explained them to you.
Yeah, because it's so much our natural inclination to do what's exciting to us. So it's already built into us. It's just recognizing the validity and the importance of what that represents.
Yes, it's about bringing you back to your natural state instead of allowing you to remain in what you might refer to as a normal state, which is something that you've been educated to perpetuate, rather than simply allowing yourself to be more natural, in which you would automatically understand these things because in your natural state, your vibration is much higher. Remember that this whole process is allowing you to remember who you are and to remember how to be who you truly are. It's not about teaching you something, shall we say, that you don't know, but it's about helping you understand how to let go of those things that prevent you from truly knowing your true state, your true being.
Like often on this planet, people will have an epiphany where they let go of a lot of beliefs just instantaneously for a brief period of time and experience themselves without questioning their value, or does that go hand in hand with that higher frequency state that you stop worrying about whether or not you're worthy or you?
Yes, that is a result of being in a high frequency state. For one reason or another, however you got there spontaneously at that moment, for whatever purpose it serves in your life to be there for that moment, yes, anytime you're in that high state, all of those things that prevent you from knowing yourself disappear because they're not relevant for that state. They're not even capable of being perceived in that state. But at least going into that state, even temporarily, allows you to know that such states do exist and that they are possible for you. And it gives you the incentive to move forward, to let go of those things that prevent you from being in that state more often or even constantly.
So ultimately, is that what it comes down to, is really truly loving and valuing yourself enough so that you can be in a high frequency state?
Yes, and of course, when you love yourself that way unconditionally, you automatically experience the connection to everything else too. And therefore, yes, you know yourself.
So in our society, a lot of people experience competition and feeling like they're not socially as good as somebody else.
Yes. Well, as we have said, you have no business comparing yourself to anyone else because each and every one of you is unique.
So it really means choosing a different way of perceiving yourself than what's demonstrated for you as typical in society of how we look at ourselves.
Yes, of course.
The Shalanaya, there's been a little bit of confusion. It says, you've said that the Shalanaya mean those who come first, and used it seemingly as broader term in earlier transmission to describe the Yael. But Shalanaya is now being used more specifically to describe the name of the hybrid children. Can you explain?
Well, again, remember, we have said that the Yael will be the first hybrid race that you would make open contact with. So in that sense, they come first, as the hybrid races are concerned. But also, they're the ones bringing the hybrid children. So we specifically now, when you understand that the Yael are the first hybrid race you will interact with on a larger scale, can differentiate between the children who will come to live among you as well. So in that sense, both of them are those who come first, but they come in different ways. for different reasons.
And you've said that the multiverse is half positive, half negative, and then there's a very fine line of neutrality in between, or that's the third state.
Yes, because then it can't be half and half. It has to be, as we said, 49 and 51%.
Right. So how is it possible that you and your race only experience the positive side of things?
Because that's what we choose to experience. It doesn't mean that the negative side isn't there to be chosen. We just know that it's not what we prefer. We don't invalidate it. We don't dismiss it. We don't become unaware of it. In fact, we become more aware of it as our consciousness expands. But we simply don't choose it.
So when you share information with us about what happened to the Greys and how we seem to be going down the same trajectory,
Yes.
are there multiple ways that we can choose an Earth that doesn't have that experience? And does it always tie into ET contact?
No. You don't absolutely have to have contact with extraterrestrials to experience, as you say, heaven on earth. We're not an absolute necessity for you to experience a higher frequency. It's just that very often when you experience a higher frequency, as I said, you automatically start realizing that you are connected to many other things besides your own world. And therefore, it's a logical extension of a higher frequency. But no, it's not an absolute necessity that you have to have extraterrestrial contact to have an absolutely positive experience as a society on your planet. There are many parallel realities where that's true. There is no ET contact, and yet Earth is a sublime, beautiful, peaceful place.
And does it have to do with, when you say higher frequency states, doesn't what come hand in hand with that, isn't that extra dimensionals, let's say, that you have contact with other levels of reality, other dimensions of reality, dead people, all of that?
Yes.
Like, isn't that part of the evolution?
It can be. It doesn't have to be. There are any number of probabilities, any number of pathways. So you can become aware of those things, and you can actually still choose not to interact with them for a variety of reasons that are not necessarily negative. Remember, as we have said, even when you clear yourself of what might be typically termed fear-based or negative beliefs, there can still be a clearing of what you have deemed as simply not relevant for you. Something doesn't have to be negative to simply be not relevant for you. So there may be civilizations who have the perfect realization that there are extra dimensionals, that there are spirits, that there are extraterrestrials, but they simply realize that for the path they have chosen, it's simply not necessary for them to really open up an interaction with any of those beings. So I'm not necessarily saying that we have found that's common, but the idea is it's certainly probable.
So there's all different ways of dealing with our spirit level.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Are there any lower vibrational civilizations in physical reality that prevent you from using a medium like Darryl to interact with them?
There are some civilizations of lower density that, because they are experiencing a lower density path, might by definition prevent us from being able to connect with them. This is one of the reasons why we have also said those of a certain frequency that are not matching our frequency may eventually find that we will not be able to continue communication with them on that level as we evolve and you evolve. They may simply have chosen a path that puts them on a version of Earth where no such contact is probable.
So originally we would have become Sasquatch without ET intervention.
Well, yes, but that's a different issue.
So for now, like, what would our trajectory be at this point without ET intervention?
You would be harmoniously in tune with the idea of nature and other dimensions of experience as Sasquatch. Just as the Sasquatch that exist on your planet now are.
Is that true that some Sasquatch has taken some people or sort of kidnapped them? And
We would not use the term kidnap. But some rare human individuals have been allowed to transition into other dimensional spaces, other levels of physical reality from time to time with Sasquatch. On most occasions, they are brought back. If they are not brought back, this is up to the choice of the human.
What happens during, what happens? Where are they taking them? What's going on?
As I said, it's a slightly different version of physical reality, a slightly different dimension of the idea you call physical reality on Earth. Remember when we talked about the idea that Earth has many different shells, many different levels to its physical reality? Well, some of those allow beings to experience a type of physical reality without it necessarily being the frequency of your physical reality. So they may experience a slightly more harmonious, more natural version of Earth. But again, it depends upon the reason why they may have included the choice to visit those places with the assistance of the Sasquatch. We cannot necessarily say there is an absolutely overarching general reason that is true for everyone that may have had that experience, but those experiences are extremely rare anyway.
Okay, that's very interesting. Are there any trees on our planet that are similar to ones on your planet? And we've heard that you can communicate with other humans through connecting with trees. So is that the same kind of tree that you would have, or?
Some of them are from other planets. Some of them are actually from your planet. Remember, we're in a sense an artificially created civilization, and that includes the planet too, where different things were brought from different areas and seeded on our planet to create the environment and the ecological system that we have. So there are some animals from your planet, some trees from your planet, certain other things from your planet, and things from other planets as well, to create a harmonious environment for the hybrid race that we have become. So yes, there are some things. We do have some pine trees on our planet. We have some other kinds of trees that are similar to yours. But of course, some of them have also evolved on our planet and have become slightly different than they are on your planet, even though they originated from your world.
Yeah, pine trees have come up a lot because they're like antenna. I think you described that one time.
Yes, they're like antenna. Well, all trees are, but the pine trees specifically are a type of antenna that functions as a go-between in a diplomatic or ambassadorial sense between the plant kingdom and other kingdoms on your planet, to use that term loosely.
In our nature, it seems to be the phenomenon of survival of the fittest, and the weakest don't survive. How can we look at such an antagonistic relationship here on Earth?
Well, first of all, don't look at it as antagonistic. That's a definition. Nature doesn't view it that way. There are things that need to be cleared out that are not necessarily allowing nature to continue or evolve in the most efficient way. So it's not an antagonistic system, especially when you come from the spiritual point of view, that everything exists forever. Nothing ever really dies. But you can trade things out. In a sense, I'll use this simplistic analogy of saying that when you replace a part on your automobile so it runs more efficiently, that's not an antagonistic system. You are simply allowing the vehicle to operate more efficiently. So nature is similar in the context of letting go, letting those parts that are not necessarily operating efficiently transition into spirit so they can, in a sense, be revitalized and perhaps even, in your terms, linearly return in a more efficient way. Remember, nothing ever completely goes away. It is more often than not, in the simplest way to phrase this, although again, remember, this is a linear phrase, more things are recycled than eliminated.
Right. Is exercise necessary to stay healthy here on Earth?
For the most part, yes, some form. Because again, when you move in some way, shape, or form on a regular basis, you are allowing the cellular structures in your body to osmotically pump and move things through your system in a way that is necessary for you to thrive. So some form of movement, one way or another, will allow the pumping actions of the systems in your body to supply all the things necessary for you to thrive in physical reality.
So another question about being here on Earth and recognizing that at any given moment, there's a certain amount of suffering that's going on between animals and people. And then there's this birth and new life and joy and happiness that's also going on here.
Yes.
And for people who are attracted to being positive and being in the light, so to speak, how can they look at the pain and suffering without feeling bad about being here or being afraid that it might happen to you?
You have to learn the vibration of compassion. You have to understand that every path is different. And again, as we just said, everyone is an eternal, infinite, indestructible spirit. Many spirits will choose certain paths that may look like suffering to you, but for very specific purposes of learning different kinds of experiences and lessons and transforming and overcoming them, which allows them to feel their power. And therefore, again, the idea is that everything can be used in a positive context. When you succumb to the idea of feeling bad about it, instead of feeling compassion for those people and helping where you can, helping them to learn how to transform those things, then all you're doing is adding more negativity to the things that they've already chosen to experience. And again, remember, it may simply be a matter of education. If they don't have the toolkit to understand how they can transform these things, you can give it to them if you do, and that would be an expression of your compassion. Not that they have to listen to you, but at least you've given them an opportunity to transform these things and gain the wisdom and the knowledge that they sought in the first place by allowing themselves to buy into belief systems that brought them into those kinds of experiences. So, from compassion, you can be a teacher. You can be a living example of what they could choose. But again, you have to allow them the opportunity not to choose it, because you see them as a powerful being that's learning a lesson and not as somebody who is actually weak enough to suffer endlessly and not know why they're there. Everything will be reconciled and everything will be used to positive intent one way or another at some point, whether physical or non-physical. Nothing is wasted.
So are the greater density level planets, is there always pain associated with those lower density or higher densities and suffering? And so what is it unique about this level of density that seems to bring about so much negativity and pain?
Well, this level, this vibration offers the opportunity to experience or relate to these ideas of resistance within the natural self in a painful way. Where there are a few other realities that may experience ideas of resistance, but it doesn't translate as pain. But the vibrational reality of Earth at this time and the way you're experiencing it offers the opportunity to experience resistance as the phenomena you call pain.
So here it functions as a kind of guiding mechanism if you're experiencing pain.
Because when you experience pain, that's a very good guiding mechanism for letting you know you're out of alignment with your true vibration.
How do human bodies utilize the electromagnetic field of Earth? And are there other untapped uses for the electromagnetic field?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, the human body can utilize it in a number of ways. First of all, you can use it for directional orientation, just as many animals do. You can utilize it to accelerate and spin up, shall we say, the electromagnetic field of your own bodies that is generated by your body, so that in matching the frequency of the Earth's electromagnetic field, you can feel a little bit more energized by mirroring it and tapping into it. Eventually, you will learn to use the electromagnetic field, as a few isolated individuals throughout your history have learned to use it, to generate unlimited free energy. There are many different things you can do with the electromagnetic field that you have yet to realize.
Okay, and also for healing?
Yes, of course.
So basically for free energy, for healing.
Yes.
Sounds good. a lot of people have questions about soul contracts.
Yes.
Like one question that's come up is if you make a soul contract on a certain level, and then you're here on earth and you're living your life and you decide you don't want that soul contract anymore, how are you empowered to change that? Do you have to go to the higher level to do it? Can you just make a statement? I decide I want a different contract, or how
No.
does that work?
You have to find a way to learn the lesson that the contract originally intended. You can always find a different way to learn the lesson, and you don't have to do it while you're physical, but you've made a commitment, and the commitment, in a sense, shall we say, has been chiseled into the fabric of existence itself. So the purpose, the intention behind the original soul contract must be fulfilled, but it can be fulfilled in any number of ways. But you can't avoid the commitment that you made in the contract, the reason for the contract. You don't have to do it in the original way you designed the contract, but you do have to fulfill the commitment you made behind the purpose you originally intended the contract to fulfill.
And is often that contract basically about becoming self-empowered?
In general, yes.
And self-acceptance.
Yes, but it can have some specific attributes to it that also you have deemed were important for you to learn as a soul. So you may still have to find ways in which to learn those specific things, but again, you can find other ways to do that. As long as you fulfill the intention of the contract, you don't have to fulfill the letter of the contract.
Sort of like the idea of you'll walk down the hall.
Yes.
And you can do it many different ways.
Yes.
But ultimately, whatever was behind the initial contract that you created for being here.
Yes.
That
yes,
is something you have to
knew
play.
what you were doing. You knew what you were doing when you chose the intention behind the contract. So attempting to avoid the intention is a form of resistance to the true self. But there are many ways you can go about learning the intention, fulfilling the lesson that you chose to create that contract for. You don't have to do it with the letter of the contract, but it is important to do the intention behind it because you deemed that to be absolutely essential when you created the contract, and therefore it's an essential part of your being as a unique reflection of all that is, and you can't avoid being your true self. You can delay it, but you can't avoid it.
So when you choose to experience life on Earth,
yes,
one thing you choose is the family you'll be born into.
Generally, yes, for a variety of reasons.
And you'll have some recognition that that particular circumstance, while you can't control the way the negativity is expressed in a sense, because people come here and then they go, well, why am I here? And I'm suffering. I'm in this terrible family.
Stop. Yes, you cannot control the way that the negativity may be expressed toward you. You can control the way you choose to receive it. And that's what counts. Because again, remember, it's not about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens that determines how you experience your life. So no, you can't control the way things may come at you, but you can control the way you receive them when you understand that that's what makes the difference. And that may very well be, in most cases, the very lesson that you chose to learn, to control how you receive what is given to you.
So it also comes down to trusting your higher levels of yourself and recognizing that the choice that was made to be here, regardless of what circumstance you currently find yourself in, that it was designed for you to evolve and to become more of who you truly are.
Yes.
And so it's not a good idea to get mad at your higher levels and say, well, why did you do this to me, or feel victimized by that?
Yes.
Or to be, in a sense, angry at the beings that are in your reality that you may feel put upon by.
Yes, in general. Although do remember, some people have chosen to experience the idea of victimhood as their life choice. so that they can add that to their soul and have a deeper understanding of all those who may be experiencing it in a way that perhaps someday they can help with. So sometimes a person may choose this life is going to be about experiencing what it's like to be a victim. And I'm not going to change that because I will deal with the lesson that I've learned from doing that somewhere else. So I'm not saying it's impossible to have a single, shall we say, motive for that particular life and not necessarily be able to change it. That's relatively rare, but it's not impossible. So again, you have to allow for all probabilities and all reasons for the choices that are made. But if you find yourself receiving information that gives you the opportunity to change it, more often than not absolute, but more often than not, the fact that you've attracted information that says you could change that state of being and that mindset is an indication that you can, in this life, do so. Otherwise, if you really were committed to the idea of only being a victim, you would probably never attract any information that would allow you to actually change that state, unless that's part of your victimization theme, is I will see all this information that could tell me I could change, but I absolutely will refuse to connect to it. That's another level of playing the victim to the hilt. But again, that's relatively rare.
I'm actually pretty surprised. So actually you can choose a life here that involves victimhood. And then you may or may not be able to change that depending on
how it serves you not to do so, and how it may serve others not to do so when you finally are capable of applying the lessons you learned by being a victim. But again, if you do attract information that could change that state, it's unlikely that you are absolutely committed to that state alone.
Okay. Would you consider victimization like if someone that's born with a handicap or something like that?
No, not necessarily. No.
Okay.
Again, there are a million reasons why someone may choose that, and they don't necessarily all have to do with victimization.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, it's very interesting to understand how we think at the higher levels.
Yes.
Okay. And many of us are taught on this planet that we're here by mistake and that we need our time here to correct that error. Who in his right mind would choose to leave heaven or the awareness of God's perfect love to experience separation?
Well, similar to what we just said, first of all, you're not here by mistake, you're here by choice. The idea, again, is that you can experience separation to have a greater appreciation of connection. There are, again, any number of reasons why you might choose to forget who you are. One of them primarily being that it gives you the opportunity to remember who you are, but from a new point of view. Remember, in a timeless, changeless state, you don't grow, you don't learn anything new. But when you forget who you are and go through a process of discovering who you are, you come at it from a new perspective, and it's the new perspectives that actually help you expand and grow. So when you say you think you're perfect in the non-physical state, well, you are what you are in any state, and you are perfectly that thing. But you don't necessarily grow when things are timeless and changeless. So growth, expansion, is one of the primary experiences of all that is knowing itself in all the ways that it possibly can. Otherwise, it just becomes a static thing that has no reason for being.
And is the ego necessary? There's been a lot of different viewpoints of like eliminating the ego, and etc.
Yes, we are laughing at that statement.
I know, because you can't be here and experience this without an ego.
The ego is simply the physical personality that allows you the opportunity to experience yourself as a physical being. That's all it is. As we have used the analogy, it's like a diving mask. You decide to go diving in the ocean. If you want to see clearly under the ocean instead of being murky about it, you need a diving mask that gives you clear vision. That's all the ego is. Now, you can let go and not experience the negative ego, but you can't let go of the ego as long as you are physical.
So it's really a distinction between negative and positive ego, right?
Yes, the positive ego just has one function, to allow you to experience physical reality as clearly as possible. It's just the structure you call the physical mind that allows you to know yourself as a physical being. The negative ego is what happens when you give the positive ego too much to do beyond what it's designed to do. You make it think it has to control everything. That would be as silly as saying that the diving mask should have the job of telling you where to go and what to look at. No, it's just that when you decide where to go and what to look at, the diving mask gives you a clear vision of it. It doesn't have the responsibility of figuring out what you should do and when you should do it. But when you think that your physical mind has those responsibilities, that it has to control everything every single moment, then it becomes overburdened and it becomes the negative ego that thinks it's more than it needs to be. But the ego is just a device to allow you to experience yourself as a physical being. That's all it is.
And as far as like free will, like a lot of people have very strong feelings about free will.
Yes, well, you do have free will within the limitations of the destiny you chose to be you. So free will is, again, what you exercise in physical reality to determine how you will experience the idea of the free will choice you made from spirit to walk down a certain hallway, and that hallway is you. So you can only be you in this particular form at this particular moment because that's what you chose to be. You are a unique path. So you can exercise your free will to be many things and many styles of approach within that path, but you can't be something other than you. That's your destiny, so to speak.
What about like developing psychic abilities while you're here on Earth?
Yes, well, you all have psychic abilities.
What are some ways that you can develop those so that you have a more expanded experience here on Earth?
You raise your vibration. And how do you raise your vibration in the easiest possible way? You follow the formula that we've given all of you of acting on your passion, because that raises your frequency.
Right.
And when you raise your frequency, you are capable of doing many of the things that start to happen spontaneously as side effects from being on a higher level of vibration. Simple as that.
That is really noticeable, that as you follow your excitement and your vibration increases, you do seem much more psychically connected with people you're close to, and
Yes.
like knowing when the phone's going to ring or knowing if somebody's thinking about you, and it just becomes normal.
Exactly. The idea of raising your frequency, I'll put it to you mechanically, kind of pushes your electron aura, your electromagnetic aura, out a little farther, and it has a much more sensitive edge so that it's more capable of connecting to more rarefied things that are not necessarily yet completely crystallized in physical reality, but you can sense them coming because you've made your antenna more sensitive to receiving things that haven't physicalized fully yet. That's all psychic functioning is. So you have to let your aura expand by raising your frequency and allowing it to become a more sensitive electromagnetic organ that can sense things that haven't yet manifested physically.
It's interesting because that sounds a lot like how animals experience their reality, because especially animals that are prey animals.
Yes.
Because it's like they hear and see things that we aren't familiar or thinking about.
But they also have a heightened electromagnetic field that allows them to sense things that are coming.
So they literally can feel a lot of times whether or not a predator is coming into their field.
Yes, and so can all of you. Many of you have constantly described the idea of knowing when it feels like somebody's watching you and you turn around and see that somebody in fact is staring at you. You can sense these things just like they can. It's just that more often than not, you don't pay attention to those things or think they're just products of your imagination. You see, the animals don't necessarily have the opportunity to think of those things as their imagination. They just simply sense what is.
Right. Like, is there a way to completely stop other people from doing anything violent to you personally?
Yes, by raising your frequency beyond the level in which you might need to experience those things to learn the lessons. So if you allow yourself to learn your lessons through the idea of positive action, being yourself, and being open to learning the lessons and not defining things that happen in a negative way, then yes, you can learn those things and you can raise yourself above the need to jar yourself into learning the lesson by attracting something that you don't prefer.
That's comforting.
Yes, but again, remember, you can't focus on it in a way that says, oh, well, if I can't do that, something's wrong. You have to accept the way in which you're doing things in order to move on to doing them differently. That's the paradox.
Yeah, because there seems like there's a lot of things involved in raising your frequency that we might not exactly understand at this point, but we can understand that when you're following your excitement and you're in that higher state, you're communicating with your higher mind.
Yes.
And your guidance system will work better and better the more precisely you can do that.
Yes, but again, remember, it's not that you're not communicating with your higher mind before that. It's just that going into a higher vibration makes you more aware of the communication that's already been going on.
So, and clearly from that state, you would never see yourself as being victimized by your higher self or higher levels of your own consciousness.
Of course not.
Yeah.
The higher vibrations don't victimize things.
Right.
Only the lower vibrations feel the need to do that.
Are spirit guides real? Like, are they with you every moment? How does this work with spirit guides?
Well, it's not like they watch you take a shower, if that's what you're asking. Spirit guides are real. Yes, of course they are. And they are there in the moments when you truly need them. But remember, they have their own lives to live, even if they're not physical anymore. So it's not like they have to hang around all the time waiting for you to need them. They will be there instantaneously when you do truly need their guidance. But remember, they're just guiding you. They're not living your life for you. They're not figuring everything out for you. They're just giving you the encouragement and a hint here and there, now and then, to help you move in the direction that is true for you. But yes, you all have them, and sometimes they can even take turns, depending upon what their strengths are and what they're learning.
So really, when it comes down to it, the being or the consciousness that is paying attention to you all the time and cares about you as much as you care about you is your higher self.
The higher self, yes, and of course all that is.
Right. But of course, we don't really...
Other beings have things to do, but they will be there according to their commitment to you in whatever way actually works best for all concerned.
But your higher self is there with you all the time, moment by moment, never leaves you.
Yes, it can't. It can't. It is you.
Right. It's like the other half of your beingness.
Yes.
You have your physical beingness, and then you have the higher self, which is
non-physical.
The non-physical aspect of you that's directly connected to your soul.
Yes. Well, it's all connected to your soul.
Right.
The soul is the higher mind and the physical mind, reflecting to itself from different points of view. So you can't really separate those things out. The physical mind and the higher mind are the soul, experiencing itself in this particular way.
Okay, and this person here is asking about past and future life connections, and they say, well, why do you sometimes tell people things like you were in the Black League, but then at other times you tell people that they're a human on Earth and just making connections to other lives?
It's the difference between the experience and the actual mechanism. And we understand that sometimes in our communications we go back and forth. But we have also taught you to learn the difference between those two so that when you hear us say, you were in the Black League, you know that we're actually describing the experience you have created from the mechanism of being here now and just energetically connecting to someone in the Black League. So you have to learn the difference so you can apply those definitions yourself when we go back and forth for ease of conversation.
Okay. And also, why do you call April by the name of her Sasani counterpart, Nania? Is she actually Nania or channeling her during these transmissions?
April is what we would call Nania Viqua. The full name would be the seed of Nania, being a connection in another life that isn't literally my daughter Nania, which isn't her name, it's just a word that means daughter. But again, the idea is the full representation of April would be Nania Viqua, the seed of Nania, a connection to Nania that informs Nania of a certain perspective that Nania can connect to. But Nania, my daughter, is a different being, but can connect to April in a way that allows her information that is necessary for her, in the same way April can connect to my daughter to feed her information that is necessary for her journey on Earth. We don't mean this to be confusing.
Okay, thank you. My daughter passed away about 3 years ago. I would like to know how to establish clear and deep communication with her.
Spirits will often attempt to communicate. Anytime you may think of her, anything that reminds you of her can actually be a communication. So you have to pay attention to the synchronicity of how her thoughts come up in your mind, thoughts of her, and allow yourself more openness so that when you think of her, you're not grieving. Because sometimes when people grieve, I'm not saying you shouldn't or can't, but sometimes when time has passed and a thought comes up and you still feel grief and sadness and sorrow, that may simply be because you are applying the definition to them that means you've lost something. Whereas the grief you're feeling may actually be a symbol of the fact that they're attempting to connect to you and get a message to you, but you're experiencing their energy as a loss and therefore experience it as grief instead of being open to the fact that they may actually be communicating something to you. So you have to relax the idea that you feel you've lost them, that they're still here, and that you can open up to a connection and receive information from them. When you feel the idea of grief, know that that may be a communication from them, and don't continue to define that as a loss.
It's your question about star seeds. What would be your definition of a star seed?
A star seed is simply someone who has recognized they have connections to other places and other times, and that the intention behind being aware of those connections allows them to know that they have chosen to be on Earth at this time as the being that they are, to aid and assist with the evolution of the Earth in the most positive way possible. That's a star seed from our perspective. It's not that they come from somewhere else as the being they are on Earth, but they do have connections on higher levels to many other places. It's just that they're using the awareness of those connections to be of assistance in accelerating and aiding and assisting in the evolution of the human being on Earth at this time. That's a star seed.
Are they genetically different from average people?
They can be.
How would they be? Would they be enhanced genetically? Is that the idea?
There are many different ways in which the genetics can reflect their ability to bring energy through from higher levels to be of assistance to the evolution of humanity on Earth.
Okay, so they're not like ordinary people? Is that sort of the idea? Or
define ordinary.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of hard to understand the concept.
As I said, the key is having the awareness of their intention to aid and assist in the evolution of the Earth. The awareness alone makes a difference in what you're calling the difference between someone who allows their genetics to bring through the energy in a particular frequency that is of assistance, and what you're terming an ordinary person who may be unaware of that connection.
I see. And what happens when someone commits suicide?
Well, again, it depends upon what they believed would happen to them on the other side, as you say. But in general, it's about the same as anyone who dies. They may wallow in certain kinds of regrets at first. They may be more of an earthbound spirit at first because they don't even necessarily know what they can experience in spirit. But ultimately, guides on that side will help them realize that they have crossed over. They will go through their life review, learning what choices they made and what might they have made instead, and learn from those ideas. And then they will apply that information and knowledge to whatever it is that they would like to do next that fulfills their soul commitment.
So
there's no punishment.
A lot of times they
There's
have
no
to come
punishment.
back.
That's their choice. They could do it a different way. But again, in realizing the idea of the commitment that they made for a certain intentional lesson, They can decide how to experience that. Many of them do decide to create the experience of reincarnation, to go through it in the quickest way possible, because that is an accelerated way to do that. Many people may decide to remain in spirit and experience it in a different way. It just depends. But they're given the choice.
So when they go through life review, though, they probably also see the consequence of their choice on the other people in their lives. And
they don't just see it. They don't just see it. They experience it as if they are those other people, because now they are more firmly connected to those other people, and they feel everything that everyone went through as a consequence of the choice of killing themselves.
But most people will feel regret for having done it if they've done it to escape.
Yes, they will feel it not exactly as the same kind of regret that you experience in physical reality, but they will have a very strong sensation of the idea that it wasn't necessarily the best choice they could have made. It's the closest thing, perhaps, that you can experience as regret, but it's not exactly the same feeling. It's just an overwhelming understanding that it was a choice made that wasn't necessarily true to your path, to who you really are. And that can be as powerful and maybe even more powerful than the idea you call regret. But it's not exactly the same thing. Because regret in your context implies a judgment of negativity against yourself. This is not a judgment of negativity. It is simply a full realization that you made a choice that was out of alignment with what your original intention was.
And are we able to see and communicate with parallel versions of ourselves? And are there parallel versions of ourselves watching us?
Yes and yes. You're already connecting to parallel versions of yourselves, even to create the experience you call time. You think that you live in one straight linear reality, but you don't. What you call one timeline is actually composed of many different timelines. So you're in constant communication with alternate realities and choosing from among them to create what you experience as one linear timeline or reality. And sometimes versions of yourself or other beings in parallel realities do have evolved to the point where they can be aware more consciously of other parallel versions of themselves or other beings in other parallel realities. So yes, some may be watching, but some may not.
So just in closing, it seems like the most important thing we can do is to embrace our experience here in physical reality and to use it as a learning tool to be able to make good choices that will be supportive of us and of others.
Yes.
And to not try and run away from the negativity, but rather to transform it into a positive expression.
Yes, that doesn't mean that you start calling things you recognize as negative as if they're positive unto themselves. You can still have the discernment to tell the difference between something that was created out of negativity and something that is created from positive energy. I'm simply saying that you can transform your experience of that for yourself into something positive by defining that there must have been a reason to experience that negative thing in your life that could serve you if you stay in a positive state.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to final thoughts about being here on Earth and how to really have a wonderful heaven on earth experience?
My thoughts will never be final. We will always have something to say to be of assistance in helping to guide you into the understanding that you have all the power. You chose to be where you are. That's why you are in physical reality. You knew it would serve you in some way, shape, or form. So we would always encourage you to look for the definitions for anything that happens, to be the definitions that would be the ones that would allow you to experience the service in a positive way, instead of simply falling victim to the idea that just because this is happening, something is bad, that something is wrong, that it doesn't belong in your life. If it's there for a reason. Own it, take responsibility for it, and you will be able to transform it in wondrous and magical ways that will allow you to experience a life of beautiful joy. So we will now encourage you to explore with us the upcoming exercise and meditation.